What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Junk Wagon production. Today the plan is I'm working on my Trackstar. I've got it running, motor set in, blah blah blah, and that's pretty much about it. More or less, I'm going to go through the front end today. Everything when I got the car was loose on the front end on both sides. I imagine the guy who sold it pretty much just put decent parts back on it, but not his Super Lake parts back on the front end. So I'm going to pull everything out, check everything. If everything's good, tighten it back up, put a new wheel seal on it, and go to the other side, do the same thing. So I'm going to do a quick short video of going through the front end parts, checking everything, kind of letting you see what the idea is. And pretty much, let's get the wheel off, start pulling parts apart, and go from there. First thing I'm going to do is pull the wheel off. And the tires just see. Alright. Now if you can't see, everything's just barely hand tight, loose. Actually this side's not as bad as the driver's side. That will need replaced. Brake line is kinked in a severe fashion, which this side does not matter so much. But I'm pretty sure that it has a cutoff for this side in the cab. 12.76 feet. How about a electric impact? This is what it is. 5/8 to remove the brake caliper, and like everything else, not so tight. Just so you can see, there's a helicoil here. And this hub is really rough looking, which being in the right front, not an extreme surprise in my opinion. So more or less, got to get these two Allen heads out. Then behind it should be the locking nut, then it just slides right off. The fun part, really 2 screwdrivers makes this job a lot easier, but these are the parts you kind of want to keep clean. Hopefully at the end of this the spindle's still good. Yeah, keep it clean, guy. Keep it clean. That's why they make brake clean. Then there's one more washer with a tang. Well, don't do it the way I do. If I've got to, I got it by bearings. I don't really care at this point. Now let's clean up the bearing and inspect it. Make sure everything's good. The way it felt pretty good, just a little tight. junk. Can't even tell where it was made. What brand are you? El Cheapo China as usual? Yeah, always put a little pressure down just so you can feel if you have a bad spot in these. Actually, this one feels really good. Go hit it with some brake cleaning. More or less back install ready. Yeah, there we go. Brake cleaning is. See, everything perfectly fine, no real wear. Always make sure you check your race because they'll start pitting and then you have an issue. Here, look at that. Race looks good. Looks as if somebody has been in here with, yeah, not so good. I think all that is aluminum though. Somebody's been installing these with chisels. Honestly, I like to go back just hand tight on this. You don't need a whole lot of drag. It's not going to come off as long as you install properly. Now, if we can find it, I do have a seal driver, you know, automotive style instead of big truck stuff, and that's what I work on in my truck. So let's go have a look. Brand new wheel seal. Keep several of them. They're great to have around. Let's see. Flush side would go down. I would say so. But if you're going to pull this off, just go ahead and reinstall a new one. Whole lot easier. And they're only like $6 or $7 a Speedway. Get it started flush. And then you start hammering it home. Still flush, send her home. That sound of flush, she's home. I always put the front bearing back in after the fact. Get it going home. Next, I'm gonna clean and inspect spindle. Make sure, because like I say, everything's new on this car to me, so I want to be sure everything's up to par. No hot spots, no gougings. And seal land is good. All my bearing lands are pretty good. A little bit of surface rust on there, no big deal. As much as these cars get washed and they're around all the time, no surprise. So more or less, I kind of check these two nuts on the ball joints. Everything feels good. Probably just needs a good grease job. But other than that, let's go tighten this up, get Carter keys in them. Check both of these. Make sure they're tight. They look to be in proper order. But let's put a wrench on just to be sure. A little bit of a turn there. Now somebody made it really fun on me because they have the orientation kind of crap. But we'll make it happen. Let's see. Pocket knife. Roll the top of this key up, if at all possible. With the pocket knife. Perfect. Where is the one here? Let me guess, bad orientation as well. Yes, wasn't it though? Pocket knife again. These are going to be fun to get out. See lots of profane language use on these coming out, but we'll save you from that. Not on camera. Alright, let's check nut and bolt everything. Good and tight. Not good and tight, but these are not meant to be super tight. So you have no binding. But they also are greasable as well, so you can throw a little bit on them. They need to be snug more or less. Oh, very nice. Go get herself a 3/4 and tighten that up. Oops. Now see this one here? She is not tight for some reason, and that's why you always go over these cars. Last year I actually found this bolt on my other car broke. While doing nut and bolt check. Tight. Getting tight. Okay, now time to go back with the spindle. Just so I could show you the proper way of doing this. Believe it or not, I did have the proper socket. It is I want to say it's a 2 3/8 6 point. 2 3/8 6 point. Just more or less those rolled edges can go past. And I'll show you the proper way of doing this instead of the way I do it so that you will not get it wrong. More or less, I work off of feel, whereas you may not have the same feel nor experience as I do. So you always go back with your washer, sits on the back of the bearing, make sure it goes in the groove. Well, and just slide it home. Get your nuts started. Yes, to get your nuts started, or you could possibly get your nuts started. and you can run it down till you start to feel friction on the bearing. And I always install my wheel seal dry. But when you get to that point of friction, which is here is where we are, you always want to spin the spindle and tighten at the same time, so you don't have any binding of your bearings. And at this point, just keep spinning it, just keep constant pressure until it stops. These bearings are actually very free rolling compared to truck bearings like I usually deal with. But you don't want your wheel seal to pinch or your bearings to bind. And this is actually very, very tight. All right, back it off. And then you go back and start to retighten it. See, there's that point of where you feel friction, and keep spinning it. All right, now we're at the second time of doing such. You back it off a quarter turn. Ish. Way I do it. Quite a free spinning hub. And now, new wheel seal installed, everything back to properly tightened. And she's happy. Now reinstall your lock ring and everything should be very happy. Go the wrong, you never tighten it to find your bolt holes, you always loosen it. Well, there you go. I would not recommend doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Always start your threads by hand. You should do this. Not super tight. And there you go. We installed it. Just for me on the Baileys, I like to clean them up. Just put a little thin line of black glue so you don't have grease slinging out into your wheel. Even though there's not much grease here, that's just the way I go about it. Might as well, while you're here, check your brakes out there. If it's a new to you car, you can see we had some rubbing in the past. Yeah, a little bit of drag, but I imagine that's because everything in this shop for some reason stays wet. So, goofy mess. So pretty much, folks, that is the in and outs and the simplicity of, you know, more or less installing and inspecting a hub and bearings. So hopefully that does you a little bit of good. But more or less, we're both learning together. This is only my second season of running a late model base dirt car. So if there's anything you see I'm doing wrong, I would like to talk to you about it. Leave me a comment, tell me I'm doing wrong, something, just so maybe I may learn from this. But thanks, folks, and check in again for another version of Junk Wagon Productions.